Next up on the Cosmic News Network, First Contact with Joshua Pert.
Good morning, Earthlings. Good. How you doing today? Good. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Welcome to First Contact Radio. To talk about all these things I'm talking about is because in life, everything is energy. Every single thing that's out there.
Yo, it's First Contact with Joshua Poet. He's the man on the mic, just in case you didn't know it. Covering news from all around the globe, from the weather and space to UFOs. They'll talk politics and make you open your eyes. Conspiracy theories and government lies. They'll dig it all up and try to find the proof. Cause it's time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have
time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have
to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio.
It's time to demand the truth.
Good morning, Earthlings. How you doing today? Welcome back to First Contact Radio. This is the Friday edition. We've made it to the end of another week. So here we are today. It's the 8th of November, and this is what we're dealing with right here. Okay, yesterday we had Capricorn. Today we're going to make a transition from Capricorn to Aquarius, and that transition takes place right down here at 5:30 p.m. It's when that aspect alignment begins to take place. So what that means is we're going from Earth to air. I know it's Aquarius. I know it looks like a water sign because it's two squiggly lines that look like water, but it's not. It is air. Aquarius is about air, words and actions. Okay, so we're going to be this evening and into the weekend with this Aquarian idea. The Aquarian idea is a lot of great positive energy, new ideas, innovations, things of that nature. So using our words and our actions in a creative, positive way. The water comes because our minds and our words and actions become fluid, like water. Okay, we learn to take. It also has the water in there because of the way in which it spreads out. We're able to, let this type of watery energy enter into the world. How it perceives people, it affects people's emotions. So there's different ways in which these energies interact. Anyway, so we have that later. The main sign we have that's a square to look at is between the moon sign Aquarius and Gemini, which is how we communicate with things. So we have a square, a blockage. So we might want to keep open-minded in what we're talking about today. New ideas, things of this nature, and just really kind of see if we can look past some of the old blockages, because sometimes when presenting new ideas, the challenge is getting past the closed minds of those who aren't ready for those new ideas. So sometimes you have to find different perspectives, ways to look at things in the way that you communicate. Okay, so there you go. That's that. And again, as I said, over the weekend we have the Aquarius new moon, or the Aquarius moon sign. It's going to switch over to Pisces on Sunday, which is a water sign. All right. From there, our moon phase is currently waxing at 32% of the way full. On the Mayan Oracle, we're at a 9-tone day. 9 tones called the solar tone of intention. Symbol for today is the moon. So we have the solar moon guided by the serpent. Serpent is life force energy, survival instinct. So we have the phrase, today I pulse in order to purify, realizing flow. I seal the process of universal water. It comes from the kin here of the moon. With the solar tone of intention, I am guided by the power of life force. Space weather, our solar wind is 383.8 kilometers per second. 3838, look at that balance. And then we go to our planetary K index. We're in the quiet range, 1 to 2. Chronal holes, still got this one in the middle here. Still expecting some solar activity from the wind sometime around Earth. Well, now, and then over the course of the next couple of days through the holes that have been up there. M-class flare possibilities up to 60% now from 45 where it was yesterday. X-class is up to 20. And geomagnetic storm activity relatively low like it has been. This is Suspicious Observer's Report for today, for a little bit more insight on what's going on with the weather.
Good morning, folks. It's a good time of the year to head out and see some fireballs. We have 3 annual events collected together now. North Taurids, South Taurids, and the Leonid meteor shower are all currently playing a role. National Geographic hit a home run here, showing every coastline in the world under the hypothetical total ice melt. They've hit every continent, and some of the images are astounding. I won't ruin all their fun. The link is posted below. You should follow it. But I will hop quickly to their final frame, as it's a nice education bit about where Earth's water can be found. Mostly in the oceans, obviously. Second greatest source is the ice, followed by groundwater, lakes, atmosphere, swamps, and in living beings. The GRAIL mission showing off as well, as it measures the crustal thickness at different points of the moon. Some of the places appear to have a very thin layer, and we are getting closer to the controversy over actual size and depth of some of the so-called impact craters. Coming back to Earth, where the top watch is the Philippines. Super Typhoon Haiyan, now weaker, but the damage is done. 200-mile-per-hour gusts and only slightly lower sustained winds at the eastern part of the island made some parts of the storm, quote, not survivable. We are waiting the incoming damage and death reports. Comparisons to Typhoon Tip are being made. Solar wind is calming, and speed is indeed rising, but the more important density is on a decline. Geomagnetic instability is waning as well, looking at the KP index, the electron flux attempting to recover as well. NASA, Goddard Scientific Visualization Studio, taking on the start of the current solar uptick, which is now almost 2 weeks old, matching the longest uptick since this solar maximum began to disappoint us. Took another X flare this morning, just an X1, still not major for the max of a cycle. This Enlil spiral is for the previous M flare, but all 1890s pops do about the same thing, so potential minor CMEs could be coming, more of them, but definitely not major. In analysis this morning, we caught a flare in progress, decided to pull the D region absorption prediction along with it to show the radio blackout feature of solar flares. Now, where radiation storms affect the poles, CMEs affect the global magnetic field. Flares ionize the atmosphere directly on the noon position, beneath the sun at that time. You see the ionization is very responsive as the X-ray radiation travels at light speed, much faster than CMEs. Interestingly, while CMEs and radiation storms can last days, the atmospheric ionization declines rapidly as soon as the flare event is over. Looking at the sunspots, I've got to expect some more flaring, as both the Earth-facing groups have delta spots. Positive and negative umbras within the same penumbral region. The leading group continues to be complex. The decay is now matched at the backside by fortification of a southern positive blue umbra. Also keep your peripherals on the new incomer. The quakes are still not back since the magnetic tantrum thrown up here, but we are calming, and the southern opening will face us in 2 days. Power of the solar wind coming from those openings should also be monitored. I've now made it easier to find the info citations, sources, and the background information, right below this video, under the About tab. Today's links are now on top, with the Ison links always up top for now, and the remaining links of the day below that. Under those, we have the background videos, which I can tell are underutilized, as about 90% of the questions I see here are answered in those videos. Website links are going below. Shots of our star to close. Eyes open. No fear, it's 6:40 a.m. Eastern Time, and that's the news. Be safe, everyone.
Alrighty. We will be safe. Okay, continuing on. So, over the course of this week, you have heard video about the subject of Kaballah from Bill Donahue. Very insightful, wasn't it? So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to do a little bit of a summary on what went on there, and a summary of what the Tree of Life is all about. Okay, so let me go and explain it to you in my own words, because this is something that I've spent a good deal of time in study on. And we're going to go over here, and there's a site that I like. It's called The Builders of the Atom. Let me take you back to their home page here. This is the home page for the Builders of the Atom. They're called a modern mystery school, says adytum is the Greek word for the inner shrine or the Holy of Holies. Like Jesus, who many believe was trained in Kaballah, members of the order aspire to build the inner temple, to construct the Holy of Holies within. People of all faiths are welcome to study the teachings of the order. BOTA recognizes Kaballah as the root of Judaism and Christianity. It is the ultimate purpose is to hasten the true brotherhood of mankind and to make manifest the truth that love is the only real power in the universe. All right, so that's the builders of the Adytum organization. It's a great organization. I have been part of them in their organization for some time. You can go to their website. You can sign up for correspondence courses. They will send you lessons, 2 lessons every month. You study the lessons, and there's enough lessons to go on for years and years and years. Pretty awesome. So, subject here of the Tree of Life. Let's get to it. One of the things that Bill talked about and showed you the picture of was this image of the Tree of Life. I have a larger version right here. This Tree of Life, and he said this is the thing that's between your head, between your ears. Okay, and that's exactly right. This represents consciousness and how consciousness works in us at all times. These 10 different circles here, what these are, the easiest way to think about them is classrooms. And we are going to be going through a series of classrooms when we go through life. We're always learning. So we go into each one of these different classrooms for whatever the particular lesson is. And then in between, there are these paths. There are 22 paths. The 22 paths are represented by the 22 major arcana of the tarot, which represent 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet. And all of these are aspects of divinity, of God. There's nothing about this Tree of Life in any way, shape, or form that is about anything that is negative or bad or evil. None of that nonsense. This is about consciousness. This is about how things work, okay? How our consciousness works. So basically what we've got here is we've got a symbol. Starts up at the top with the crown. Crown is where all the ideas come in. The energy outside this is called the Ein Sof. It's one of the names of it. The no thing is another reference. It's this pure spirit, superconscious energy that flows down into the crown. Okay? Our crown chakra can also be thought of here. It flows down into our crown. And as it comes down, we go through a process of learning. Our first classroom here is the classroom of wisdom. In this classroom of wisdom right here, some of the things that are apparent in it are the ideas of esoteric science, like the zodiac, how the zodiac works, understanding the wisdom of the planets and the stars. Okay, and then you come across here and you have understanding. Once you've learned something, you need to understand it, because without understanding, it's just learning. It's just information. So you have to make that information practical, and that's what learning does when it understands. It takes that information and it makes it practical. And in between here, you have a path, and this is the path of the Empress. The Empress is all about our imagination. So we use our love and imagination to be able to imagine what we've learned into a place of understanding. And as we do so, the Hebrew letter attached to this card here, to this meaning, to this name, is Deleth, which means door. So as we use our imagination to bridge together our wisdom with our understanding, it opens a doorway and allows us access to this middle pillar right here. Okay? This is the High Priestess. This is called the Inner Temple right here. She is the inside the chamber, the pure virgin idea that's there, and we go into this sacred temple within ourselves in order to gather the information we need. It's this pure place where we go when we meditate. We're striving to find that inner sanctum there. And then as we go down, we enter that inner sanctum, that house of holiness. We continue to move down into the next phase, and here we're dealing with 2 other classrooms. This one is mercy, and this one is severity. Too little, too much. Okay? The idea of mercy is the idea of having compassion. We want to have compassion in life towards others, but we don't want to become so much at the whim that we're the compassion has overwhelmed us that everything we do we're feeling so bad about. We want to balance that out, okay? The other side of the coin is severity. We want to have this passionate energy in our lives, but if we don't channel it properly, it becomes warlike and aggressive. Mars is connected into here. Jupiter is the planet associated with this one right here. Saturn up here by understanding. So we come down, continuing down the middle of the tree, path of the high priestess, and then we come to another doorway right here. And this doorway is strength. Strength is righteousness. The right useness of our energy is to open up our heart and let all things flow through our heart. So as we open up through the balancing of our mercy and our severity, as that doorway opens, we find our strength. We continue our path down the center of the tree, down to the center of beauty, to the classroom of beauty, right in the heart. This beauty is the understanding that all things in life shine in a beautiful way. Okay, all things. So from this place of beauty, we're now going to continue on. And next we have this path here taking us over here to Netzach, which is victory, the sphere of victory. And what this is the victory of God. This deals with emotions. We come down and we go and we find the victoriousness out of the beauty. And the other side of it we have splendor or glory. Now, here we have the emotions and the mind, and these two things are opposite extremes at times, because a mind can't have emotional thoughts, and the emotions aren't going to be figuring out the intellectual things. They're two different components. Okay? So, if the victory gets too out of control, if the splendor or glory gets out of control, there's too much ego involved, there's not enough self-confidence that's involved. So there's a balancing act. The balancing act that's right here, what we have in the middle here is not this card on top, but underneath is the card of the tower. And what this is preconceived ideas. Preconceived ideas that occur when our emotions and our intellect are at odds with each other, when they're not in balance. Then we have these preconceived ideas, otherwise known as false truths. And false truths eventually crumble until we find the absolute truth about what they represent. And the way we find that truth is we have to stand on our pillar of our own higher self. And this card here is the card of temperance, which represents our higher self, that higher ideal of us. It also represents Sagittarius, which is truth, the truth bringer. So when we allow truth, when we allow our higher self to really stand out from us, it allows us to balance out the aspects of our emotions and our intellect. And therefore it helps us to see past all false truths, preconceived ideas. And here you can see this angel, our higher self, is standing on the foundation of truth right here. Okay? And this foundation is our unconscious. It is Yasad is the name it goes by, and it is the foundation that we stand on of bringing all of these energies before we're ready to bring them down into the physical kingdom. Okay? Foundation of truth. And as we make our final journey down to this last classroom here, it's the classroom of the kingdom. And the classroom of the kingdom, it has multiple different colors here to it, because you got this is where the fire, the water, the air, and the earth all come down, join together in this kingdom of energy. Okay? So if you notice, you've got some of these are on one side of the tree, some of these are on the other. Well, you have to have the balance. You've got one side that's a balanced pillar of mercy, one that's a pillar of severity, one that has more feminine qualities, one that has more masculine qualities. The ones that have masculine qualities are masculine qualities within a feminine ideal. The ones that have the feminine qualities have the feminine qualities within masculine ideal. The whole thing is about balancing itself out right here in the middle of the tree of life. And in that balanced place, we take our energy straight down the middle path, from the crown, through the heart, our foundation, down into the kingdom, and then back up again. But the beauty about the tree of life is that from any one of these particular classrooms, from any one of these places, there's an opportunity to find our way back to the heart space, back to the center pillar. Okay? Just by understanding what is here. So if you look at this and you see what the cards that are here, it helps you to understand. Here we have the magician. The magician is all about focus. So we need to focus our energy to understand. Once that energy comes through the crown, we focus and concentrate where we want it to go to understand what it is we want to create or do. From understanding, when we're on the severe aspects, not fully balanced, we have to go, and this is our sense of discernment. This is the card of the lovers. We use our sense of discernment to make better choices to take us back to the heart space. From wisdom, we have here the emperor. The emperor is setting things in order. So once we learn a lot of things, all that information is great. But think of a computer with just tons of information and not organized. Well, you have to organize it. That's what the emperor does. Organizes the information. Once it's organized, now it becomes balanced. And you can go on, and each one of these has its position to get you back to the middle pillar. And that is the whole secret of everything, getting back to the middle pillar. So now I'm going to go back over here to this saying. It's called the pattern on the trestle board. And the pattern on the trestle board are called truths about the self. So if you're going to study this object right here, these points from 0 through 10 describe the entire process of what's going on here. Okay? First one, 0. All the power ever was or will be is here now. This represents the Ein Sof. That's all around everywhere. Okay? That everything that we need is always available. Always has been, always will be. 0. Number 1. Starting up with the crown. I am the center of expression for the primal will to good, which eternally creates and sustains the universe. Wisdom. 2. Through me, its unfailing wisdom takes form in thought and word. 3. Understanding. Filled with understanding of its perfect law, I am guided moment by moment along the path of liberation. 4. Mercy. From the exhaustless riches of its limitless substance, I draw all things needful, both spiritual and material. 5. Severity. I recognize the manifestation of the undeviating justice in all the circumstances of my life. 6. Beauty. In all things great and small, I see the beauty of the divine expression. 7. Victory. In living from that will, supported by its unfailing wisdom and understanding, mine is the victorious life. 8. Splendor. I look forward with confidence to the perfect realization of the eternal splendor of the limitless light. 9. Foundation. In thought and word and deed, I rest my life from day to day upon the sure foundation of eternal being. And 10. The kingdom of spirit is embodied in my flesh. If you look at this tree of life, and the way to study these things, the best way is you look at the tree of life, you look at these phrases, and you just take one at a time. You don't have to get it all at once. You take one image, one phrase, and you just contemplate on one aspect. These are classrooms. You go into a classroom to learn. That's what this is all about. There is a lifetime of learning within these particular symbols, within these phrases and ideas. Okay? A lifetime of learning here. And so, if you embark upon this, I guarantee you, it will help to really make a difference in your life on the way you see things and how you learn to put things together, because this is the ultimate symbol. This is the ultimate organization of how all of the energy works. And within that symbol, you have the astrology, you have numerology, you have the ideas of tarot. It's Kabbalistic, obviously. You have colors, you have sounds. It's ultimate wisdom right there in that symbol. Okay? So there you go. That's a little summary of Kaballah for the course of this week. I hope you enjoyed the information from Bill Donahue. I hope what I said today made sense. Up next is our UFO news, so I will be right back. Stay tuned.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk. Thank you very much. Today I have 5 stories. So this first story is a video that came across of a mass sighting of an orange. Okay, well, that's the street light right there. That's not it. We're seeing this thing back out here. Okay, see those things there right there? Alright. So this video's here, so you can check it out. It doesn't say where it took place. And tell the person in the video is trying to find out what the heck's going on, what they're seeing. It's 5 minutes and 11 seconds. Alright, so video links available so you can check it out. See what you think. Alright, moving on to the next story. Next one here, this is an alleged piece of UFO. This comes from George Filer. It says, I noticed that a friend of George Okuna Wilkin was in possession of an alleged piece of UFO that crashed in 1947. When George held the relic in his hand, he had a warm, welcoming message. I met the present owner of the relic who had examined it at the University of Delaware laboratory. It was determined that the relic was very, very similar to palladium, but exceptionally light for this type of metal. Additionally, the sample was manufactured in a weightless environment or in space. The red color of the relic is red reflection off nearby red leaves. People who hold the relic often claim to receive a message. After I held the object and pondered its significance and remembered the alien abduction files by Kathleen Marden and Dennis Stoner stated that this craft is operated mainly biologically. It is controlled by thought. The message that came to my thought when humans ventured into the ship, they should use the 10 Commandments to guide their actions. The metal, like a computer chip, may have been programmed to carry this message into space. Alright, very interesting indeed. Moving on to the next story here. It says, this is a program. New lineup for ABC includes aliens who target children. Very interesting. ABC is reportedly developing an alien drama to add to the network of lineup shows. Few details have been released, but according to The Hollywood Reporter, this currently untitled drama is about a group of aliens out to destroy the Earth. But rather than an outright assault on the planet, these hostile extraterrestrials will repeatedly take a more passive approach. The Hollywood Reporter describes that the show will be a race against the clock to defeat all unseen alien enemy out to destroy the world by using the Earth's most precious resources, children. As AV Club points out, there's no indication of why children are such a precious resource, but the website goes on to speculate, though perhaps it's because their hands are small enough to complete repair work on alien ships, or because the alien race covets children like jewels. ABC is working with Under the Dome writer So Hugh to develop the hour-long episode for this show. New alien drama will join ABC's other alien show, new show The Neighbors, a sitcom about a human family living in a community of extraterrestrials. Okay, so we've seen lots and lots of shows over the years dealing with extraterrestrials. Yet another one. Will be interesting to see what this one's all about. Here's an article that says information received during my UFO encounters by John Foster. As stated below, the summary or overview of my 46 plus years of experience in UFO encounters from my very early childhood. The information suggests or indicates solidly many insightful things that now have affected and will affect our human reality as we perceive it, including many elements our sciences, religions, and history. Some of the information is self-explanatory, while others information I was given or information was obviously suggested. It demands further investigation, analysis, speculation. I will attempt to do this in another entry on this website. So here's some of the information received during the encounters. It says when I was 2 or 3 years old and 39 or 40, the so-called ETs told me that they were here to change humankind, and the way that they did it was to enlist the help from people like me. They said that we would have to fool some people because people didn't like change. When I was 11 years old, summer of 1949, they told me that if I didn't want to be like one cow in the herd of cattle, that I should not resist what they were doing to me and telling me that I should cooperate with them. They said the churches are not teaching what they were set up to teach, and that modern corporations are too narrow focus on profit. They said I need to develop my metaphysical talents, and I would teach others in the future about construction techniques. They explained things about the 4 directions and told me to always know where I was in relation to north, south, east, and west. They explained the purpose of the familiar strangers and encouraged me to join them in their tasks. When I was about 13 years old, around 50, they encouraged me to join the Boys' Ancillary Organization of Masonic Lodge. They demonstrated a Masonic ceremony and put me through part of an ancient Egyptian ceremony. I saw several alligator-like creatures who were in charge of my lifelong education and development. They indicated I would work with the buildings and other people. They placed me in an examination, told me I would have heart attacks and heart surgeries later in my life, which I did some 38 to 45 years hence. They astonished me for getting me into trouble with my young buddies. Okay, so there's a good article right there. There's a lot more to it. In this last one, if you know how close Earth came to alien conquest. This novel you're about to read began as a rumor in '54. It begins with the Kenneth Arnold sightings of 9 disc-shaped craft near Mount Rainier in Washington State. He describes how they flew like a flat rock skipping across the water. The Air Force recovered a crashed UFO, alien bodies from Roswell. Next, the UFO flew over D.C. President Truman formed Majestic 12 to investigate and deal with extraterrestrial menace, and emphasis on where they came from and what they do. The book begins with a report of the death of President Eisenhower, concludes with his meeting with President-elect John F. Kennedy. The Eisenhower Enigma is a fast, hard-paced, hard-hitting, non-apologetic commentary on the world's largest single event in the history of mankind, and you have a front row seat. After coming to this obvious conclusion that the Earth was indeed visited by extraterrestrials, the U.S. government launched a serious investigation into UFOs. The Air Force was ordered to intercept these unidentified objects to learn as much as possible. Then the unexpected happened. Chase planes plotted by veteran airmen in the Air Force were crashing. In fact, the pilots were bursting into flames and instruments were melting. Many of these pilots were veterans of World War II in Korea and had flown many generations of warplanes. There was no obvious reasons these planes were crashing except for alien intervention. Well, there's a lot more to the article. I'm going to leave it to you. Good stuff. That's our UFO news for today. I have more news, other subject related, so I'll be right back. Stay tuned.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
People shouldn't be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of them.
All right, continuing on. So we're going to look first at this Obamacare. Start things off. All right, this was from the LA Times. It says White House tries to reassure Democratic lawmakers about Obamacare. It says President Obama and his advisors are fighting a crisis of faith amongst Democrats as the effort to fix the online marketplace drags on. 16 Senate Democrats met with President Obama on Wednesday to urge that he write his funding healthcare website warning of a crisis of confidence if he doesn't act quickly. The president's team acknowledged struggling with how the president's message to the public, but some senators left the meeting more concerned than they were that there were no immediate fixes coming more than a month after the healthcare went live. With re-election battles looming, fellow Democrats have been left to explain the website failures while hoping that the benefits of the Affordable Health Care Act are just around the corner. The frustration was on full display Wednesday as 15 Senate Democrats up for re-election and the senators in charge of their campaigns urged Obama to get the troubled launch behind them and his party. It's absolutely unacceptable in this day and age that the administration can't deliver the promises it made to all Americans because of technical problems with the website, says Senator Mark Begich of Alaska. Alaskans should be appreciating the critical benefits of the Affordable Health Care Act, but there is understandable crisis and confidence because the administration has yet to get it off the ground. I would say that there's a problem in confidence, and to all the Democrats that are out there, do you still believe that this Obamacare is going to work? And after seeing how the fiasco is, are you really going to trust? I mean, come on, they rolled out a website to you. The website doesn't work. Kids can make websites. Yes, I know that there's more complicated things than what kids do, and I know that there's a lot involved. I do computer work myself. I build websites myself. I know the intricacies involved, which are quite a few. But this is the United States of America. We have companies like Amazon. We have sites like Facebook and Twitter. We have sites that work pretty darn good, pretty close to flawlessly at many times. How is it that our United States government can't get one right? Good question, isn't it? Perhaps their intent wasn't to get it right. Perhaps that's the joke of this whole situation, that it never was about presenting you with anything other than a screwed up situation to tear the country apart and to take you away from all of the health care that you already had. Remember, there's those around the world who say that the man in office is a Muslim terrorist. If that's the case, there's a problem, because the Muslim terrorist is doing things that are tearing this country apart. Meanwhile, people are still bickering over right and left. The guy in the middle, he's causing all kind of problems, and it's only getting worse. So what's going to happen out there? What are you going to decide? Have you seen enough problems with the website to realize maybe there's something about this? Maybe I shouldn't completely trust what they're going to say next. It's not like they're an honest organization to begin with. Now you've got all this nonsense? Crazy. All right. Did you hear this story? Navy SEALs ordered to remove the Don't Tread on Me Navy Jack from their uniforms. The Navy Jack is the Don't Tread on Me flag, one that has earned a revered place in America's naval history and a beloved place in the sailors' hearts, though it's used for over 2 centuries. The symbol of American naval ferocity has spanned our country's entire existence, flying from the masts of the Continental Navy during the War of Independence to today's War on Terror. In fact, an amendment to the Navy Code called SecNav Instruction 10520.6 clearly states that of May 31st, 2002, all ships are to fly the flag throughout the duration of the War on Terror. So why would ranking SEAL commanders ban the historical symbol? Is the proverbial top brass banning the flag? Is President Obama? Clearly, the administration and the sycophant top brass officers have degraded America's military prestige from hand-tying rules of engagement to uniform regulations that make our military allegedly more compatible with foreign forces to the banning of an awe-inspiring flag that traces its roots to the first U.S. Navy. We have a civilian-led military, but why should our ranking commanders be complicit in the administration's war in it? Why don't they stand up to Obama and the leftist cronies? It's a good question. It's a question I've been asking, question a lot of Americans asking. What's happening to the military brass that are kowtowing to this man in office? He's accused of being a Muslim terrorist. Why are our military brass complying with what this potential terrorist has to say? Why are they not investigating and letting the American people know that this man is not a terrorist? I don't know. It's a good question. Something most Americans should be concerned about. Something probably all the people around the world should be concerned about, because it's a crazy situation, especially from a president who said he was going to be transparent. There's nothing transparent about him. Okay, here's the Charlie McGrath. Let's hear what he has to say for today. It's called, Are You a Terrorist?
Hi, my name is Charlie McGrath. I'm the founder of WideAwakeNews.com, and I host on the Rinse Radio Network. Get used to the phrase domestic terrorism, right? International terrorism, the notion that we got to travel across the world and destabilize nations, that's what we've been sold over the last decade. But a year ago, Eric Holder told the people of this country what keeps him up at night is domestic terrorism, more so than international terrorism. Events like Boston, where we have a lockdown of a city, martial law declared on Boston because of the bombers of the Boston Marathon, or the floating of information like there might be drones flying around this country. Sure, it steals your individual freedom, but it's sold to the American people as a good idea because it's keeping us safe from domestic terrorists. Now we have Paul Ciencia, CIA in CIA, going into the LAX airport and shooting a TSA official before he's taken into custody. And of course, almost immediately, within minutes of his apprehension, the establishment media is told that through a unnamed condition of anonymity law enforcement official that this guy is in the Patriot movement. They found a manifesto. It says he's anti-government, anti-New World Order, anti-international banker, anti-fiat currency. You better understand that standing up for yourself now in this country is tantamount to being a domestic terrorist. The very following day, Forbes comes out with an article breaking down exactly what a domestic terrorist looks like. Starting off with, he's a pissed off patriot. Somebody who takes the word patriot, which Forbes claims mean loyal and courageous, and twist it to cover their activities, be it speaking out or violent. And of course, they got to have a manifesto saying why they're doing what they're doing. So anybody who writes down their anti-government views, that might as well be considered a manifesto, and they potentially could be a domestic terrorist. They list the fact that if a person wears fatigues, they want to feel like they're part of some kind of military action and be seen as a hero. And let's not forget, Forbes will break down that if they're packing the right kind of firearm, it puts them into the category of a domestic terrorist. In this case, an AR-15, saying an AR-15 is a badge of honor for the Patriot movement because a decade started in 1994, it was illegal for Americans to own this gun. And, of course, if they bring into the argument fiat currency, the New World Order, or any other of the so-called alleged conspiracy theories that we know to be absolute facts, then you fall into the category of domestic terrorists. But it doesn't stop there. We just posted a story last Friday on wideawakenews.com that shows there's over 72 types of individuals that the government considers to be domestic terrorists. If you believe in individual liberties, states' rights, the Patriot movement, opposed to the NWO, bumper stickers with patriotic or anti-UN slogans, if you are anti-globalist, if you are suspicious of the centralized power of the federal government, if you're reverent to individual freedoms, if you are a believer in the right to bear arms. These are just a few. You see, we are transitioning from this point of looking abroad, looking around the world for terrorism, to looking at individuals in this country who do not like the path that we are on because we realize it's an unsustainable path. We're on an unsustainable path when it comes to our military endeavors, expanding empire. We're on an unsustainable path financially, spending money that we don't have. We're on an unsustainable path when we allow special interests to dominate and write laws that govern this nation. This will be the path forward. Anything and everything that happens that has a tinge of patriot, truth, freedom movement to it will be labeled as a domestic terrorist event. And once you are a terrorist, you give up any constitutional rights that you must have. Understand this is the path we are going. Stories are attached. That's all I got.
All right. So he's right, you know. And by definition, George W. Bush, or George Sr., George Bush Sr., he would be a domestic terrorist because he actually came out and said New World Order, that we need to have that. And then again, Biden talked about New World Order, so that would put him in the category of domestic terrorist. I believe Obama has talked about New World Order. So it's a tricky thing. They use these phrases to try to categorize American people when the very people that are running the show are using these same phrases and words. You know, an American patriot, well, that's what we're supposed to be. That's what our Constitution calls for. And if they want to change the definition, doesn't mean that's really what the definition has changed. Just because a few of those out there who don't care about the American freedoms want to try to deceive Americans, doesn't mean anything. So for all of you patriots out there, I salute you. For all of you patriots out there that are standing up against this government tyranny, that's great. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what our Constitution, that's what our Declaration is about. It's about standing up against the injustices in the world. Because if we don't stand up, this country's going to fall down. And the reason the United States of America got to be a country in the first place is because brave men and women stood up. Okay, they didn't sit back. They didn't get overrun when England told them all the same things that we're being told right now. Read through the Declaration of Independence. Look at the points in there and realize that all of the same reasons that the Founding Fathers separated from England are exactly the same reasons and the same situations going on right now. So be patriotic. You're not a domestic terrorist. You're what this country was founded on. The domestic terrorists are those who are trying to change the definition of what is going on. They're trying to change the definition to confuse people. So people are too afraid to claim their patriotism. But it's not going to work for me, and it's not going to work for people whose eyes are open. It's only going to work for the young people who are being conditioned in front of the television sets day and night, or for the young kids who are in schools who are being spoon-fed information about New World Order and all the other nonsense they're being spoon-fed in schools. So stand tight to your beliefs, because that's the thing that's going to set us free, those beliefs and the patriotism that we have and the freedoms that we have that come from it. And don't let anybody tell you otherwise, no matter who. Don't worry about that. Just stick to your ideals. Now, we're going to turn our attention to Ison. This is beforeitsnews.com. They have stories that come up here that seem to hit pretty good and do come out before it makes main news. So that's one good thing about it. It says it turns out Comet Ison is Planet X NIBIRU. NASA lied again. Said we did numerous blogs on the coming of Nibiru over the past 3 years, and what we discovered consistently through the various types of evidence from ancient civilizations is that the arrival has an impact on the Earth. But it's nothing to fear, according to the Mayans. A shaman interviewed said it's the return of the ancestors and wise men. Furthermore, astronomers that we published said that this time it was coming from the south, which means damage would be minimal. We did a whole series in the blogs of the Antarctic and the unexplained research facilities there located since 1956, along with the U.S. military presence. We even covered Hitler and his obsession with Antarctica and UFOs. All of this research we did on the RH negs is what Hitler was also preoccupied with, the Aryan race. It appears not to be about anti-Semitism, rather about alien hybrids. Who knows, maybe a combination of both. Then we published a blog on the murder of a pair of astronomers recently when we started the blog, and that is beyond coincidence since these pairs work together. Then we have a Japanese astronomer also murdered. Then we have published a blog on a group of astronomers from Spain who also confirmed the existence of wormwood, or Nibiru. Then we noted the moving of the CIA headquarters from Washington, D.C. to Denver, high up in the mountains of Colorado. At the same time, the royalty of Europe has been buying up land around the Denver airport. Finally, we published something that the History Channel put out a while back about the ancestors and the wise men. Then we also published a blog showing the Swiss banknotes with Nibiru on it. Then there was the woman who exposed so much about UFOs and shortly after doing so was killed along with her son. So we have been on top of this almost from the beginning, having said, like anything, check it out for yourself and decide. As you can see, the evidence is compelling and should be taken seriously in preparation. Nothing lost by preparing and everything gained. I just had another thought. If we purge the bankers out of all governments, we could take over the underground facilities and save a huge chunk of our population. Something to think about. Winds predict. Okay? So there you go. So, a lot of information and stuff about Ison or Nibiru, whatever it is. Don't know. But here, let me take you to this. Here's a comet that's been spotted with 6 tails. Six-tailed comet is called impossible by astronomers. Possible alien craft detected. Okay, we're seeing a number of comets out there these days. This is seen between Jupiter and Mars. A UFO or odd asteroid that is located between Mars and Jupiter has confused astronomers. This asteroid appears to have 6 streams letting loose material into space. The photo captured by the Hubble has been deemed by NASA as being weird indeed. Here is a link to the original photo. It says, NASA Hubble sees asteroids spouting 6 comet-like tails. Astronomers viewing the solar system's asteroid belt with NASA's Hubble telescope have seen for the first time an asteroid with 6 comet-like tails of dust radiating around it like spokes on a wheel. Unlike all of the known asteroids, which appear simply as tiny points of light, this asteroid, designated P2013 P5, resembles a rotating lawn sprinkler. Astronomers are puzzled over the asteroid's unusual appearance. We were literally dumbfounded when we saw it, said lead investigator David Jewett of the University of California at Los Angeles. Even more amazing, its tail structures changed dramatically in just 13 days as it belches out dust. That also caught us by surprise. It's hard to believe what we're looking is an asteroid. There you go, is the image. Yeah, you could see the way it's throwing out all kind of different directions. Now it doesn't say what it says between Jupiter and Mars. So that's very interesting. Still not certain what the thing is up in the western sky, but alright, let's move on. Here's a site called the Live Sky. The Live Sky is a really cool site in order to be able to check out what's going on. Here we have a listing of all of the objects that are in the sky, from the planets and the suns to the comets and then the man-made objects. Okay, so you can see there's a lot out there. We have Comet Lovejoy, Comet Ison, Comet Encke, Comet Linear, pan stars, and then it has the location of where they are and how you read them. Okay, and I'll have to bring up another day information on how you read these space charts and where these times are. If you have an app on your phone, some of the apps have this in, so you can actually follow along and see where they are. And if you click on any one of these links, let's click on the link for Ison, you can see it shows us where Ison is right at the moment, where it was 2 hours ago, an hour ago, where it is now, and where it's moving to. Alright, so it's a pretty interesting site here just to kind of follow along with what's going on with the asteroids around us and other space objects. Alright, Albert Einstein, The Nature of Life and the Dimensions on Earth, from Steve Beckow. Albert Einstein explains dimensionality to us before. I have not heard the schema of 12 dimensions with 12 planes before, but I could say whether this is indeed to cover all life or just a human sphere. I have to know more than is said here. Whatever the case, we have to navigate all planes and dimensions before we ultimately return to God. His suggestion that all dimensions are observable in the third is a novel and interesting idea. To be sure, all grades of people in terms of evolution commingle in this dimension, whereas they don't in others. But I had not considered that the higher levels could actually be observed. Of course, Mr. Einstein would have been the consummate observer. In this article, we can see where his interest took him after his transition. And here we said, this is Albert Einstein. It says, humans usually think of dimensions in terms of measurement. The term measurement refers to length, width, depth in the third dimension, and with the added element of time in the fourth, and the numeric assignment to the fifth. I wish you, my dear friends, to think of dimensions in a different way, not excluding measurement, but as a measurement of growth and qualities of being, states of existence. As humans, you have come to consider growth as the core definition of what is alive, what is living. Examples of this would be trees, plants, animals, crystals, and of course human beings. It is natural for you to think of yourselves as the top rung of the food chain of life, which expresses itself in the third dimension. What you and I, when informed, fail to realize is that life forms and dimensions, are not a ladder but rather a circle. That a circle of 12 dimensions, each with 12 planes, defines the universe in which all life forms participate or have their capacity to participate. Each dimension has qualities or growth patterns that define it. That is the concept of dimensional measurement. You are measuring the energy force of that quality. Each of these dimensions has their own signature, as it were, and of course within there is the gradation, much the same way as dimension has a gradation. I wish to discuss this, but first I outline them. All right, big article, goes through all of the dimensions here, all 12 dimensions, what they are. I'm going to leave that for you to read. I just wanted to make the article available. There's a whole lot of reading for the weekend. We're going to go on to our message for today. And today's message comes to us from Jesus.
Jesus, your true nature is love, so make a point of being love in every moment.
November 3rd, 2013, by John Smallman.
Jesus.
The enthusiasm to awaken and to know God is intensifying daily as more and more of you add your intent to the human collective intent that God be known and honored all across the planet. You are going to achieve this by living lovingly and compassionately and by cooperating peacefully and harmoniously to change yourselves, thus letting go of any ego-selfing agendas to which you may have been attached, and by so doing changing the world into a place of holy joy. This is not a pipe dream. This is an environment that you are working constantly and most effectively to bring into being, and success in your divine venture is inevitable, because it is the divine will. What is occurring on your beautiful planet is quite astounding, so stand ready to be amazed when you awaken and discover what you have brought into being. You are all part of God's divine creation, and you are therefore creating with Him a state of incredible beauty and goodness, the like of which has never before been seen on earth. It has been a long time in the planning and a lot longer in the accomplishing as you experience the stages of development from initial design concept to completion in linear time. In truth, however, the entire creative process from inspired idea to fulfillment and completion has taken but a moment, just as long as it took to imagine and intend that it be so. As divine beings, your ideas or thoughts, when so intended, are created instantly in the now moment. That is how creation was designed, and it is continually fulfilled by your infinitely wise and loving Father. However, once you entered your illusory world of extreme limitation, this was no longer possible, and because it seems so real to you, you believe that to create anything of value, in fact anything at all, takes a very long time. And because of the limitations with which you have freely engaged, this is what you experience. This need not be so. When you awaken, these self-imposed limitations will just fall away, leaving you free to create whatever you desire instantly. Within the illusion, the limitations that you imposed on one another by your collective choice and intent, have enabled pain and suffering on a massive scale to enfold you with apparently no adequate way of relieving it. It appears to be an endemic and constant companion in your daily lives, whether you are a member of the wealthiest self-serving 1% or one of the rest of humanity. You are all, by your free will choices, subject to the limitations of the illusion in the form of illness, violence, pain, suffering, and finally death. No one escapes. The wealthy just get to experience their suffering in relative comfort. And that offers them very little actual comfort. But that is all to end, because its time has passed, and the new age, which was established very recently, is one of joy, peace, and abundance for all, although you still have linear time to contend with, and so its fruits are not yet fully apparent. A little more patience on your part is still requested, and that is proving very difficult for many of you, because your hopes were raised and then seemingly dashed as apparently nothing of note occurred as the new age birthed late last year. Of course, there has been an enormous energy shift right across the planet, as evidenced by the public and ongoing disclosing of so much of the endemic corruption that has held you in its thrall for so long. Much has changed, it is just that you were expecting change of a different nature. A magic wand sprinkling fairy dust, perhaps? To see corruption and all its allies defeated and shamed. Nevertheless, the intense and powerful field of divine love enveloping the planet and all sentient life thereon is having a truly remarkable effect on all of you, and your hopes have become a very strong intent that is bringing in the changes for which you have been hoping and praying. The old order is collapsing, their power is dissolving, and their selfish and self-serving agendas can no longer be made manifest. Political organizations everywhere are in severe disarray, and the economic policies that have caused so much damage worldwide over the last several decades can no longer be displayed as magnificent models that have proven to be effective in bringing wealth to many. The much-touted theory of trickle-down economics has rightly been totally discredited. The truth of the matter is, as all are now seeing, that those policies never worked as claimed, that they have always been used to enrich the already rich and disenfranchise everyone else, and that can no longer be permitted. The days of every man for himself are long since past, but the clearing away of the distrust and damage those policies produced does take time, which is why all that you had been hoping for so enthusiastically is taking a little longer than you had imagined to bear fruit. The fruit is there, and it is growing beautifully, so do not despair. That never helps anyone observe it growing and swelling as it must prior to becoming ripe and abundant as the harvest approaches. No one will be left out, short-changed, or denied their share, for all will partake of this magnificent abundance, and joy will be boundless in the ensuing celebrations. Keep returning at least daily to your place of inner peace and holy quietness. When you are settled there, reconfirm your intent to be channels of divine love, assisting all to awaken by living, teaching, and demonstrating love in action. All in the spiritual realms are with you, encouraging and inspiring you to reach out and lovingly embrace all with whom you interact in any way at all. A physical embrace can often be misunderstood or misinterpreted, but holding the intent to embrace all with love without engaging in the physical aspect is exceedingly effective, and will most definitely be felt by those at whom it is directed. But do not let that discourage you from physically embracing those whom you intuitively feel are open to it. Remember that seeing loving hugs being exchanged uplifts the onlookers. After all, people go to the movies to enjoy watching demonstrations of love in action, and mostly they feel insufficiently loved in their normal daily lives. Your true nature is love, and within the illusion no one gets enough of it, so make a point of being love in every moment, sharing it, and thereby bring all to their awakening. Your loving brother, Jesus.
All right. Nature is love. That's pretty basic, and it's a good thing for us just to kind of be focused on. Angel message for today. Please do not allow insecurities to hold you back. You are magical, and we will help you. All right. That brings us to our meditations. Go ahead and close your eyes. Take a deep breath. And exhale. Take another deep breath. Hold it. And exhale again. Inhale again and imagine you're inhaling love. Pure love from the universe, and exhale it out. And allow that energy of love just to cycle through your body, to move through each one of your chakras. And as it moves through your chakras, you feel alive and energized. And then the energy flows out from around your being, 3 feet around you, forming this protective egg around you. And then it expands out further to your room, and to your home, and to the city, to the state, to your country, across the sea. And we share this protective, loving energy with everyone around the world. And everyone is doing the same thing. And let's imagine as we look around the world and we look at each other, let's imagine at first we see each other the way in which things are in the physical world. We see all of the separations that we have created in life, the organizations that seem to be opposed to each other, the Democrats and the Republicans, the males and the females, the good and the bad. We see all of the divisions we have created. And we realize that these divisions are not necessary anymore, and that these divisions are actually illusions. So then we close our eyes for a moment, and when we reopen them, we see things clearly without these divisions, and we realize that we are all the same. We are all part of the same oneness. There is no separation. That the separation is an illusion created in the physical world to confuse us and remove us from our spirit. And as we look at each other, when we realize this, and we wake up from the separation that we had created, and we join together in unity with each other, we find that we become stronger. Stronger in our confidence, stronger in our convictions, stronger in our willingness to make this planet a better place for all of us. And as we look around and we see that there are those who are still stuck and refuse to let go of their way of looking at life in duality, we just send love and compassion to them, in the hopes that they will one day open their eyes. And until then, we just send them off in a protective bubble so they cannot influence and hurt anybody. And we just imagine this protective bubble put around all of those around the planet that are out there wanting to hurt others, and put them in this bubble so that they cannot affect anyone anymore. For we realize time has changed, and we can make a difference on this planet by using our minds, by using our hearts and our spirits to stand in the divinity, to accept the abundance and inheritance that the universe has provided for us. And as we look at this and contemplate this, we realize that what the universe has to offer to us is unlike anything that humanity tries to offer. That the gifts of humanity pale in comparison to the gifts of spirit. And so as we seek the spirit and reside in the spirit, we find that all of life is enriched in a much different way, because humanity begins to change what it is offering to the world. So let's imagine this power of spirit, this power of love, just washing through every being upon this planet, changing them for the better. And let's imagine as we go forth into the world over the course of this weekend, let's imagine looking at each other through the eyes of oneness, realize the sameness that we are. There's a phrase called in Lakesh. It means I am another yourself. And when we look at each other and we remember that I am another yourself, that we are looking at another aspect of ourselves, it changes our relationship with that energy, because it allows us the opportunity to want to know more about who we are, what we are about. As we look at each other through the eyes of our oneness, that we are part of the same one self, we have compassion, we have patience, and we have love. So as we move forth over this weekend, let's continue looking through the eyes of oneness. Let's look at each other as they are another version of ourselves. Let's spread love into the world and allow that love to continue to spread from person to person until all on this planet are changed and affected by love. So let the subconscious mind continue on that journey. And let's bring the conscious mind back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. Take another deep breath. Exhale. And open your eyes. That's it. That is our show for the week. Thank you very much for being here. There's a lot of information. Go back, re-listen to some of the stories, read some of the articles. You know, a lot of great stuff to learn. Have a great weekend. I'm not going to be around on Monday and Tuesday. I'm going to be out of town. So if you don't see me, don't worry. I will be safe and sound. I'll be back on Wednesday, and we will continue things from there. If I do have an opportunity, I will try to get out a report on Monday and Tuesday. But just plan on Wednesday for sure. All right? That's it. Have an awesome weekend. Be safe, and I will talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.